Kamala Harris, she has no events on her calendar for the campaign, and you've got CNN of all places. So it's not just Fox News and conservative media pointing out that Harris is unwilling to do interviews. It's now CNN in interviews with two different campaign spokespeople, two different shows at two different times of the day on CNN yesterday, who are all pointing to, well, she had a busy schedule and she's doing a policy speech Friday, which, by the way, is not a actual press conference where you take questions.
Let's watch this exchange between John Berman on CNN, of all places, with this spokesperson for the Harris-Walz campaign.
The reason I was asking about today is because it seems like she has time if she wanted to do an interview with a member of the media or do a news conference, correct? There does appear to be that time if she wanted.
Well, look, she has said on the campaign trail that she would be doing an interview at some point. She said that, I think, last week during a rope line or when she was talking to reporters. But look, what is important here, John, is that she is taking her message directly to the American people. She hit a number of battleground states. I think we had 15,000 people in Detroit last week, 12 to 13,000 in Nevada. She's been taking her message to the voters and drawing large crowds. So she's actually having those direct conversations.
But not today. All I'm saying is not today. She could do an interview today, I would think, because she's not out there today.
Well, look, she's taking her message directly to voters, and just because she doesn't have an interview scheduled on her public schedule doesn't mean that she's not taking her message directly to voters about how she's going to improve their lives, how she's going to protect their economic freedoms, how she's going to expand their rights as Americans, in contrast to Trump and J.D. Vance, who simply want to enact the Project 2025 agenda, which would just set America back dramatically.
The media here, they clamored to get rid of Joe Biden. Now they've got Harris. They have made her out to be the savior of the Democrat Party, and yet she is unwilling to spend time with those who are boosting her.
I think it's not wise politics. I think in the end, people want to hear from candidates. They don't want to hear from your vice presidential candidate. They don't want to hear from your surrogates. They want to hear the candidate take questions to see both the substance, that is, what the policy positions are that they're going to adopt, how it's going to affect their lives, how it's going to affect inflation, how it's going to affect the border. But I also think they want to get to know them and get a chance to touch and see them, right? And how do they respond? Do they get angry? Are they sharp enough to actually answer difficult questions? Can they speak in full sentences? These are things the American people, just as a matter of common sense, will demand as this campaign moves forward. And I think this gap where she has just chosen to pretend that she doesn't have a history, to walk away from some of her long-held views that are clearly deeply held on her part. I think this will turn out to be a political mistake. And Jordan, one last thought. I know it's a terrible mistake when it comes time to govern. The American people will turn to what you said you'd do during the campaign and demand that you do that properly so and hold you accountable for that. When you leave this wide open in the way that she has, when you don't know who you are as a candidate, I think you make it very difficult to actually accomplish anything were it the case that that the country was unfortunate enough to have her elected.
Harris has only said that she has agreed to schedule an interview at some point. And she did not say that she would schedule an interview at some point this month, but that she would schedule an interview at some point this month that could be in the future. The scheduling will happen this month. And then you've got an ambassador saying she's got no reason to have to do this.
That's right. This is Michael McFaul. He was the former ambassador to Russia under President Obama. He said the paramount objective for Kamala Harris is to win this election. If a press conference helps her wins, she should do it. If not, she shouldn't do it. It's just that simple. She has no, quote, moral obligation to talk to the press. Tone it down, folks.
If you can't speak to the press as a Democrat, and you can't take questions from a majority-friendly audience that is likely 98% of them or more in that room are going to be voting for you, so they're going to ask questions they're just trying to actually help you or maybe get you out of some of the holes that have been dug, like about were you the czar on the border, or was that something that was just thrown out there that you really didn't have the power to institute? Did that fall to DHS? And were you ever actually empowered to do anything where she could start distancing herself from Joe Biden? But instead it's, well, she's got time to do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but she's not going to. And the only thing she's promised to do is this month to schedule an interview sometime in the future. That does not mean she'll be doing an interview in August. It doesn't mean she won't be, but I don't think she's going to be doing it during the DNC next week. It's not like speaking to the press is the number one most important thing that a presidential candidate has to do. But certainly you've got to be able to get your message across in different ways. So you host events, rallies, you host town halls where you take questions from American voters. And then you, of course, take questions from the press. Usually the questions from the press are the more deep policy questions, whether it's on the economy or foreign affairs. But a lot of those issues, if you think about, Harris has not really spoken about as vice president. And we don't know yet how involved she has been until now in any of those kind of discussions, which is kind of an interesting opportunity. And it does, maybe create a little bit of a weird situation at the White House, but she has an opportunity to, if she wasn't that involved, to explain that to the American people. That, look, I've got some differences from President Biden, and now that I am the nominee, I'm going to start walking through those with you, and can do that with the press when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to domestic policy. But if you don't do that and you just go to rallies and just rah, 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 and it's just kind of the same speech over and over and over again, it doesn't really give the American people the feeling that you've got a command of the issues and are ready to actually govern.
She did do a rope line kind of as she got off the airplane. Some reporters yelled at questions, and what their questions were are, when are you going to do a press conference? And that's when she said, hope to have one scheduled by the end of the month. So she's really not had any scrutiny. And this goes into the whole narrative that many people have been concerned about with the way that she was then made the standard bearer of the party when President Biden decided to drop out of the race, is that she's never faced scrutiny. She faced a little bit of scrutiny in 2020 when she ran for president and she dropped out of the race before Iowa. So she never got votes. Right. Now she had got to skip the entire primary process where there's a lot of scrutiny on you, and is now avoiding more scrutiny as the nominee of the Democrat Party.
She believes that not doing these press conferences is helping her. And that might be true right now. But ultimately, she at least is going to be in one debate with Donald Trump. And in that debate, it's not going to just be her and Donald Trump. There's going to be questions about foreign policy. There are wars going on. There are huge domestic issues involving the economy. And doing those press conferences preps you for that because you're on your feet. Usually no notes. You can do as much prep as you want behind the scenes, but nothing is as real as having the cameras and the reporters in your face.